Welcome to Bluegrass Brooklyn, our podcast all about the music we love, straight from the Bluegrass borough of Brooklyn, New York.
Across the Bowery through the heart of Chinatown. Outside it's just the cold December rain. Heading home to Brooklyn on a slow rolling train. I put on Bill Monroe to get
Welcome to this Monday edition of Bluegrass Brooklyn. I'm your host, Mike Wilner. Liz and I are just getting back from Gray Fox. It was an incredible week. We had a great time, met a lot of wonderful people, heard some amazing music, and are looking forward to bringing you an episode to share that experience with you. This episode is a replay of a really interesting interview we did with banjo player, instructor, and YouTube personality Jim Pankey. We hope you enjoy it. In the meantime, please follow us at Bluegrass Brooklyn on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Brooklyn is spelled BKLYN. You can visit us, bluegrassbrooklyn.com. If you'd like to drop a line, say hi, give us some feedback. We really appreciate it. Mike at bluegrassbrooklyn.com. We promise we will respond. If you're looking for jams in Uptown Manhattan, Bronx, Riverdale, or New Jersey, and increasingly around the world, check out bluegrassjamsnearme.com. Okay, so let's get to the interview. So here we are with preeminent banjoist, banjo teacher, and all-around nice guy, Jim Pankey. Jim, how are you doing?
Oh, doing really well. Kind of starting my day at this point, but yeah, doing great.
All right, well, thanks for starting it with us. Really appreciate you taking time. If anybody out there doesn't know, Jim offers a series of YouTube banjo lessons, especially those aimed at beginners. Let's hear a little bit about your musical journey, if you don't mind.
I was always kind of enamored with the banjo, even as a little kid. There is about 2 or 3 seconds of 8mm home movie of me imitating Grandpa Jones when I was probably 2 years old. I didn't have a banjo. I had a skillet.
Yeah.
Because the 2-year-old imagination is pretty powerful. And so I always liked banjo. And then I was a kid at home. Dad played guitar and mandolin a little bit. So I found the mandolin. It was small. It did not look intimidating. So I started just learning simple chords and to be able to just kind of strum and sing with it, and then quickly moved to the guitar. But later that same summer, I discovered, and it wasn't like I was really snooping. Mom had mentioned that she had her mother's old banjo and it was in the closet. So I found it and tried to tune it up and got it somewhat playable, and had the red Pete Seeger book and just started learning out of it, just some basic bluegrass stuff, some simple old time stuff.
Yep.
And there it began. Later that year, I guess for Christmas, my dad got me a better banjo. And from then on, I don't think I've put it down since. That would have been 1977, I guess.
So have you been a professional musician all your life?
I've been a variety of things. I have been a musician the whole time, and I have had an assortment of vocations to support my musical habits.
Yeah.
I have a degree in agriculture from the University of Georgia. I taught vocational agriculture for a couple of years. I have worked in human resources. I have worked in sales. I have worked in banking and IT security. So yeah, a very varied way of trying to support myself just so I could play music. And in 2012, I pulled the plug on all of that and decided that if I worked just as hard for me as I worked for the bank, I'd be able to eat, pay the bills. And obviously it's not the same pay scale, but I haven't missed any meals, so can't complain.
I know that on your Patreon, the entry-level contribution is help me feed my cats. So
pretty much. That's yeah, let's help feed the cats. And yeah, I live simply. I don't have a huge place, and I don't want a lot. I just want to play music and feed the handful of cats that wander up.
We're all very, very grateful that you did find your way into the wonderful world of full-time music. One of the most talked about set of videos by you on YouTube, and there are many, are the 10-step beginner banjo videos where you learn Cripple Creek and a few other tunes.
Mm-hmm.
What prompted you to go down that road to directly address the raw beginner?
Peer pressure. There was a guy here locally. He plays guitar and does a lot of singer-songwriter stuff, but he also plays banjo, and he's not a bad banjo player. He could step into most any jam session and survive.
Mm-hmm.
But he hit me up we want to learn eastbound and down. And so I said, Keith, just come by the house. I'll show you. And he's like, no, I don't want to do that. Just make me a video. And it's like, well, okay. You literally live less than a half a mile from me, but okay, I'll make you a video. And so I made him a video, and I thought, well, how do I, it's pretty large. How do I get this to him? So, well, I got my YouTube channel. So I stuck it out there on YouTube, just unlisted. And I got thinking about it. Well, this isn't a bad video. I'll go ahead and make it public. And it got some traction. I figured, well, let's keep doing that. So I would make these tune videos. And then people around me kept saying, you ought to do a beginner banjo series. My thought was, there's a lot of that already online. I don't need to add my voice to that conversation. But people persisted. And it's like, fine, I'll do a little series. Here's everything I know in 10 lessons. And dadgum if they didn't take off.
It sure did.
I did them kind of to prove a point that nobody's going to want to hear what I have to say about this. But doggone, they took off. And then when the pandemic hit, boy, they really spiked because folks were stuck at home. It's like, what do we do now? And I'm glad I caved to the peer pressure, even if it was proved that they wouldn't do well at all.
Yes.
But now here we are.
Well, Jim, I have to say, if you go look at any 10 postings on Facebook or Banjo Hangout or anything that says, I'm a beginner and where do I start? Every single one, 10 out of 10, is somebody's going to say, Jim Pankey, YouTube, must.
I struggle with that. I see that and I thought, man, that's so cool. And it's like, but why me? There's not a lot of production value to those videos. I shot all of that on my iPhone 5. I edited it all on my phone. I didn't have a computer. I just had a phone. And I thought, well, I'll just throw these out here and see what happens. And people see them, and the production quality's low. It's just me leaning in.
Yep. You have the phone sitting on the floor, and you're like laying on the floor to get the angle and such.
Like right here. So I just prop my phone on the music stand, and then I have no control over Zoom once I've set it up. So I thought, well, the best thing to do is just get the banjo in frame. And if I have to talk, I'll just lean into the camera. Yep. So it's goofy and it has my sense of humor, which is, I didn't know I was funny, but the number of people that have told me that I'm funny or amusing is a lot more than I expected. And it was completely accidental. But I feel like they just have a real down home kind of, here's a dude in the kitchen showing you how to play the banjo. And people liked it. And so now it's become part of the brand, lean into the camera, talk into the camera. And if I don't do that, people immediately notice. If I change the background or if I have an opportunity to shoot video somewhere else, like recently I did some video at the acoustic shop out in Springfield, Missouri. And then I record occasionally up in Nashville with Recording King. Boy, people notice when the set changes.
Interesting.
So here I am in front of a pile of instruments, which is more like just some guy showing you how to play the banjo.
What's your opinion on the single greatest obstacle to the beginner banjo player? What stops most people or perplexes most people in your mind?
Just not approaching it just with curiosity. I've had a lot of times it just comes down to just approaching the instrument with zero expectations. Just be curious, hit the strings, hit some notes, see what happens. A lot of times, especially adults, we have these big expectations of ourselves that, well, so-and-so does this, I should be able to do this. And we expect to be able to do it today. I have people all the time, they'll send me a comment or email, and it's like, I just can't keep up with your lessons, you just go so fast. And I said, you can hit the pause button and just take little bitty bites. So all of that to say, I think folks just typically, on average, bite off way more than they can chew at first and feel disappointed at themselves for the little bitty things that they learn to do. But if you look at a child that's learning to talk, they don't come out quoting passages from War and Peace, and they say a couple of words, and then they learn to string sentences together. And adults typically want to approach the banjo as like, give me a whole song. I've had students years past really want to learn, and they come to me with this almost engineering mindset. Well, it's like, why don't you teach me Alan Mundy's Peaches and Cream? Because it's really hard and it has every technique that I would ever need. And then I should be able to play whatever I want. And I said, well, that's not how we learn. You can't reverse engineer how this instrument works and how humans learn. And as a professional educator at one point, I do feel like that I do have a tiny grasp of how folks learn, and the reality of it, it's not complicated. It's not even something you could really write a dissertation on, but it's, we learn in little bitty chunks. We learn little things. And my advice to all my students is take that little thing and get it in your head. You're not done yet. Now you got to spend a month with that little bitty thing till it's part of you. That's the way I learn. I typically learn one thing at a time. And so many beginners try to tackle this thing. They're trying to just get it all in right now. Let's get this done. And that rush to success never works.
Well, what I had to keep in mind when I listened to a lot of my favorite bluegrass players is Earl Scruggs is a virtuoso. Bill Keith is a virtuoso. These are guys who are masters of masters. So for me to say, oh, well, that's what I want to play that. Okay, let's keep in mind the
how long does it take to get there?
Exactly. And being someone who picked up the fiddle at age 68, from nowhere, I really know how easy it is to frustrate oneself with self-limiting thinking and self-criticism. And I'm very fortunate to have a fiddle teacher who basically focuses on mindset. So put all that stuff aside.
Right.
Never helps. It never has criticizing yourself while playing and doubting yourself while playing improved your playing. Never once.
No. I tell my students, there was a Merlin Mann photography article, and he talked about the tolerance for courageous sucking. And you do. At some point, you just have to accept where you are right now and really try not to look very far into the future. Just be where you are. And because your growth, like a kid that grows, it's so incremental. You a lot of times you don't even notice it. I encourage my students to record themselves, not to critique themselves, but just to have a historical record of it. And then 6 months from now, they can look back and say, oh, I have improved. And it's a little more noticeable in the beginning, but as you've been playing 5, 10, 15 years, those improvements are pretty small and sometimes obviously not perceptible to anyone, sometimes not even yourself. But it's just accepting the fact that this isn't something that you can learn in 6 months or a year. It takes time.
It's worth the investment. Banjo, like fiddle, at least in my perception, is an instrument which requires a certain degree of confidence and self-confidence. And like when a banjo player does their kick, it's like, here I am, I'm taking this over, I'm driving this.
Absolutely.
Same thing with a fiddle player. And the advice I got was, if you can't do it, fake it. Just have that attitude.
I have students, it's like, I can't make this chord change quick enough. I can't get my finger there. It says, I don't care. Just throw it up there, hope for the best. It doesn't have to be perfect. You're just going to put that chord up there, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, nope. There's no grade. And it will soon be forgotten, whatever you did. And just throw it up there, hope for the best, because the next time you do it, it'll get better and better. And pretty soon you'll have full command of it. but don't let the fact that you don't have full command of it stop you from trying.
Great advice.
Here's a little story. I had gone to the park just to sit and just to be somewhere different. And I was sitting there I was watching these two kids with a skateboard, and they were trying to do some trick. And 45 minutes, I sat there amused, but learning. And in that entire time, they never got the trick. But every time it was close, there was high fives and congrats. And, oh, that was almost it. Oh, man, let's try it again. That's what it takes to learn this instrument. And it's not like, well, I'm going to have to go meditate until my body will agree to do this thing. It's like you sign up for a yoga class and you soon realize that there's things that's going to take time.
What do they say? People overestimate how much they can get done in a week and underestimate how much they can get done in a year.
Oh, absolutely. It's just baby steps, and being willing to take the baby steps and just do the little things. But if you really like something, I think you can take a few cuts and bruises along the way and you get better at it.
Yeah, I cringe when I think of some of the breaks at jams that I subjected people to when I first started playing.
Oh, me too.
Oh, my gosh. I'd like to shift the topic a little bit. I noted that you have been awarded championships for both bluegrass and old-time banjo playing.
Yeah.
And I'll also comment that we find a lot of times old-time players don't really want to hear bluegrass music in their jams and vice versa. What in your mind is like the source of that contention or the source of that sense of exclusion?
I'm just going to shoot from the hip on this one.
Good.
But it's, at least for me, and being somebody that tries to live in both worlds, it's different. The music is different. I mean, it would be like trying to drop a heavy metal guitarist into an Ernest Tubb cover band. Mm-hmm. And while like Earl's banjo playing has a lot of old time roots, it's polished and different and very square, and everything has a place and everything is in its place. Whereas the old time is more, oh gosh, I don't quite how to say it, but I mean, it's more about a feel sometimes in a way. A lot of times it's not about the pyrotechnics as it is the things that you learn. You try to serve the tune. Go to an old time jam. You will sit in a tune 15 minutes sometimes. Right. It'll just continue to go around. It never happens at a bluegrass jam. The genres are, to maybe an untrained ear or just a casual listener, they're similar. But as you dive into the banjo styles and the musical styles, they're different enough that it'd be like wearing a tie with my T-shirt.
Right.
And being somebody that plays old time and bluegrass, maybe my perspective there's different than, somebody that only plays one style. Even the difference between bluegrass banjo and clawhammer banjo, I approach it as a completely different instrument.
Huh.
I don't even think of it the same.
Interesting.
And for myself, just to keep things separated, I like on clawhammer banjo, I almost never use just standard tuning. I'll always use an altered tuning of some sort, because standard tuning, it's like the best bluegrass. It sets me up to start thinking like a bluegrass player. I've done this long enough that I know better, but it's a choice that I make. It's like, okay, what we're going to do with these G tunes? Oh, I have a solution, but it's not going to be G standard. So,
as a fiddle player, and I came to it from banjo into mandolin, then finally fiddle, and it was one of those things. I spoke to Tony Trischka at some point and asked him, like, did he ever play guitar blow? He's like, once I picked up banjo, that was that. And that's how I feel about fiddle, right? It's just, I touch other instruments because they're fun, but I came to it through bluegrass. If I look at my song list, I've got a couple hundred songs on my list. Almost a couple of hundred of them are bluegrass songs. But now the more I play fiddle and the more I get to the soul of the fiddle and what it's saying, I'm leaning further and further into the old time stuff, just because the fiddle is just so happy playing that stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I get that.
And I never understood the contention. You don't want to just bust out a 15-minute old-time song in a bluegrass jam that's clipping along at 100 miles an hour and ripping through the Flat and Scruggs repertoire. But even so,
Sure.
keeping an open mind about that is important, at least in my mind. On another topic, you're living in North Georgia now. So what's the jam scene down there? Do you participate in local jams? Are there local regular jams? How does it work down there?
Like for a regular bluegrass jam or regular old time jam, I have to go to Chattanooga for those.
Oh.
There's a couple of bluegrass jams and I'm 45 minutes from Chattanooga, so it's not far. But as far as where I am in this area, the barbershop, those guys used to get together and play regularly, but they don't do that anymore. And that was a bluegrass jam. But yeah, Chattanooga has kind of been the scene for decades at this point. And like where I live, proximity to Chattanooga is convenient and pretty good music scene there. So I wind up there from time to time.
Here in New York, if you go to a bluegrass jam, you're going to hear Blue Ridge Cabin Home no matter what. I mean, somebody's going to call it. There's a couple of tunes
Absolutely.
that'll always go. Are there similar somebody's going to call it tunes in Chattanooga where you jam?
I would say probably, yeah, especially in the bluegrass jam. Those are like what they're calling in New York is probably very similar to what's going to happen here. Anything off a bluegrass album band is going to be, that's fair game. Shoot, I was trying to think of the tune, but there's some Lonesome River Band tunes that get called, and standard things that you see at bluegrass festivals all across the country. I mean, we're going to play Julianne. Somebody's going to call Carolyn the Teenage Queen. There's going to be tunes like that. I can't think of the tune, but it's making big rocks or little rocks out of big rocks.
In the gravel yard.
In the gravel yard. That gets called, So.
Do you participate in the festival circuit?
A little bit. We have a couple around here that I'll play from time to time. But as far as what I do, it's not real conducive to festival sort of bookings. But I'll occasionally go to a festival just to hang out. But gosh, going to a festival just for fun, that I go to SPIGMA every year. That's kind of my vacation, which is in Nashville. And definitely, if folks haven't gone to SPIGMA, Society for the Preservation of Bluegrass Music in America, SPIGMA. And it's at the Music City Sheraton in Nashville. It's always in the winter, end of January, like right before Groundhog's Day. Like I say, that's my vacation because it's a literal beehive of bluegrass music for 3 or 4 days.
Sounds like fun. All right. So now I'm going to ask you a tough question. Yeah. If I asked you to visualize your Mount Rushmore of bluegrass banjo players, but only 4, not necessarily the best or most talented, but the 4 that just stand out in your mind, what 4 players would you put on your Mount Rushmore?
I tell you, okay, so here are 4 of my hugest influences of banjo players. Obviously, Earl Scruggs. Earl's a big deal. And counter to Earl is Ralph Stanley. I was exposed to them early in my formative picking years, and I learned techniques from both of them. And I'm not a straight Scruggs player. I'm not a straight Stanley player. There's some hybrid stuff going in there. So 2 more players early on. This is one that you'll probably never hear anybody else say. But it was such a huge influence to me, was Buck Trent. I found Buck Trent albums. Charles Trent. He did some albums in the 60s that I had access to. And there was some really cool stuff that I still utilize every time I play. So Buck was a huge influence. And the other would be a toss-up. But my earliest exposure to melodic banjo playing would have been Alan Mundy. And I learned a bunch of melodic stuff from Alan's playing. Initially. Later on, learned a lot of stuff from Bobby. And then after Bobby, I met Bill Keith. And so Bill would, and I'm full grown at this point and already a banjo player when I met Bill. But he tried to help me. He would send he would send me text message puzzles and stuff to work on, just basically teaching me music theory and such. And Bill was a good guy and a good friend, but he he definitely influential. But I guess my top four: Earl, Ralph, Buck Trent, and Alan Mundy. And Buck, I mean, it's like the one you look up there and you go,
"Who's that?"
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
You're 100% correct that nobody's mentioned Buck so far. So thank you for throwing that name on the table. So do you ever find your way up to the Bluegrass borough of Brooklyn, New York?
I haven't been through Brooklyn in since the early 90s.
Ooh,
so no, I would love to. I would love to do that. As a matter of fact, I taught Kaufman Camp this year with Hillary Hawk.
She's great.
She was Hillary's great. Yeah, gosh.
Yeah.
And so she's in Brooklyn.
Yep.
And it's like, wow, what an interesting place for a banjo player to land. But she's doing well. So yeah, I would love to. I was there. I wanted to drive through the city. So I got on at 95th and 96th Street and drove all the way through Manhattan, through Times Square. And I, went across the Brooklyn Bridge and then back, and then wound up going through the Lincoln Tunnel. And it was a fun experience. But that was 92, I think. So
well,
it's been a minute.
Jim. We got to get you back up here.
I'd love to come do a workshop or just something.
Absolutely. So do you have any parting words of wisdom to the banjo fans out there?
Keep your banjo out and practice like a kid. Think about this. If I had a classroom or just a kitchen table full of children and showed them a picture of the painting of the Mona Lisa and then threw out some paper and some crayons, I said, recreate this. Every one of those children would create a drawing of the Mona Lisa that would be identifiable as to what they've done.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would like folks to just approach it like a kid. Mm-hmm. Just play. Take the things you know how to do and create a facsimile of the thing that you want to make. Mm-hmm. The 8-year-old is not going to create or recreate Da Vinci's Mona Lisa.
Right.
But she might be able to draw a picture and you look at that and go, that kind of looks like the Mona Lisa. Yeah. And that's what we're after. And that's what I hope everybody can do. And just be brave. Just be brave. Just go for it.
The bravery is very important. Jim, it's really been a pleasure to get to meet you. And I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing you at a camp or even up here in the Bluegrass Borough.
Yeah, let's figure out how to get up there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for listening to this Monday edition of BluegrassBrooklyn.com. Remember, follow us at Bluegrass Brooklyn. Visit BluegrassBrooklyn.com. Drop a line to Mike@BluegrassBrooklyn.com. Check out jams in Uptown Manhattan, Bronx, Riverdale, and Jersey, and around the world at BluegrassJamsNearMe.com. Thanks a lot for listening, and we look forward to seeing you around the jam circle.